go ahead and just start out and tell me your name.
Joe Haber.
Okay. And I'll get a sound check here. All right. And to tell me a little right now about where you were born.
I was born in Philadelphia in 1935. We had a place in Bridesburg, actually where I was born, and my father was from the Richmond section. So after that, we moved. We lived in the Richmond area, Kensington, Richmond, until we moved to New Jersey.
Okay. And as a child, what were some of the things you did?
I was the only child, so I had to come up with ideas to keep myself entertained. I liked to play with soldiers. It was during the wartime, and had soldiers and made forts, and I was a pretty active guy. We always had lived up on Gillum Street, and the guys, my friends at that time, we would go out into this big field, which is at the end of the street, and dig a big hole in the ground and put dirt on top of a board and stuff. So we played soldiers mostly.
So that was the time during the war?
Yeah, I was born in 1935, so I remember Pearl Harbor. We were living up on Cedar Street in Philadelphia. And it was a Sunday morning, listening to the radio. Of course, we didn't have television at the time. Listening to the radio, and then it was like the Pearl Harbor was bombed, and so I just went through that period of time. My early years were during the war, so I have a fond remembrance of those things.
What did your parents do?
My mom and dad, well, my father was working for the Frankfurt Arsenal, which produced munitions for the war, and had been working there before before the war. So later on, my mom got a job there, and she worked there during the war.
And as you got older, you went to school. Did you stay in Philly? Where did you go to school once you were?
I did a couple years in grade school in the fifth grade. And then at the end of the fifth grade, we moved over to Maple Shade, New Jersey, on Fifth Avenue, where my parents rented a house for a couple of years from a family relation. And then my mom decided they wanted to build a house, and she built a house up in Moorestown on 535 Covington Terrace, where I, lived until she passed away. We owned that property until she died.
Tell me a little about when you graduated. Well, tell me a little about high school.
I think high school was one of the greatest times of my life. There's a lot of good people. We were all kind of conservative, and we still are. We get together at Christmas time, many of us, and that's over 50 years. And we had the reunion recently, and we're kind of like I'm very proud to be associated with those people. They're just good Americans.
The school that you went to?
I went to Moorestown High School, and I graduated in 1953 from Moorestown High School. I was like a college prep course.
And you were in some sports.
I played on the track. I ran on the track team. Made varsity in my second year, and then I took off a couple of years, and I came back and got another varsity letter. So I was varsity twice in track. I ran a quarter mile, half mile, and a mile. But I did pretty good. Pretty good.
And then once you graduated, did you go right into the Army then, or?
My friend from high school, Jimmy Roberts, his brother had been attending Marietta College, and when it came time to talk about colleges, we just decided, and I filed for admission to the college, and I was accepted. It's out in Marietta, Ohio, which was about 8 hours from Moorestown.
And you were there for 4 years?
4 years, yeah. Business major with a bio minor. So I had a business background and a bio minor. Mm-hmm.
Well, tell me one of your funniest college stories.
Funniest college. I don't even know where to start. Well, I guess one of the funniest things was we used to have a place called the Hackett Hotel. And it was all the guys would get down like on a Saturday afternoon, and we'd start drinking beer. And some of us were pretty heavy, especially one of my friends, Jock Meechin, and we were sitting around there. It's just a table, and the guy would come in. His name was what the heck is his name? He was an old bum, and we'd buy him beers. And he's a sign painter, and he would come around and we'd take care of him. And one day we were just talking about, the Fat Man's Club. And just when we were elected to Jock, he was about, 220, I guess. When we said, well, Jock, you're the president, the chair broke and he fell on his ass. That was a funny story. On and on and on.
I saw pictures of you and some other guys rolling around in the mud. That's always stuck in my mind. How's that story go?
Oh, that was when I was in the fraternity house. I joined the Alpha Tau Omega fraternity in my second year, and we were a good bunch of guys too. I always had great friends, and we just had these mud fights. It started with guys running around the house and somebody pouring water on them, right? Well, then it got into a big, it's like the Animal House. It was just like Animal House. So when I see Animal House, I remember myself. And then we all got muddy, and we had a big pile of mud in the back, and then we all decided to go, like a pig into the mud. So we wallowed in the mud. It was fun. It was a great afternoon. Had a good time.
Who took the picture?
I don't know. I don't remember now who did that.
Your friend Jimmy Roberts, always heard a lot about him. Tell me a little more about him.
Jimmy was from Pennsauken, New Jersey. Came up to Morristown High School. His father had the Roberts Brothers store up on Route 38 in Pennsauken, and actually I got a job working for his father during the summer months. It was like a brute job, unload freight cars and stuff like that. And his brother Chucky Roberts, was a year or two ahead of us, and he kind of convinced me to apply to Marietta College because it's such a great school.
What are some of your most fondest memories as a kid?
Fondest memories? Oh, geez. I don't know. It's when you're a kid. There's so many little things. I kind of was by myself a lot. I was growing up in Maple Shade, and I would get down to the creek, and I was kind of an adventurous kid, and I liked to ice skate and things like that. And then BB guns. In those days, you could have a BB gun. So I go plunking. One time, my father got me this pellet gun. So we're at the end of Fifth Street where when we lived there in Maple Shade. And it was like at the end of the street, right before the highway, it was a dump. And there were bottles there, and the rats would run around. So my father was taking a pop shot at one of the rats, and he hit the bottle, and the thing ricocheted. And we never thought anything about it. And about 5 minutes later, this guy comes up in his car with a smashed windshield. I thought my father was going to die. That was a funny story.
Tell me a little about your dad.
My dad was an easygoing guy, tremendous guy. Loved to fish. He would take me fishing down to the shore a lot, and he was kind of a busy guy, worked a lot. But I remember going on a lot of trips with him, and he was a nice man, really, a nice guy.
Your fondest memory of him? Do you have one?
Oh, Douglas, I got more stories from. We went to Aunt Agnes's house for Christmas, and you remember your cousin Walter was his. I think he was there for one of his first Christmas parties, and he had gotten an oil paint set, and he was painting pictures on the oil paint. And my dad came in to the party or the Christmas event with a brand new $100 suit, and that was a big expensive suit. So he sits down on oil paint, and he was pissed. He was so mad. He got up and he had, all colors on the bottom of his pants. I'll never forget that. He was, I know, my dad had a good temperament. He hardly ever got mad at anything, but he was pissed that day. Anyway.
Tell me a little about Nanny.
And Nanny was quite a person, and she taught me a lot of the things that I know. She was a Democrat. My fathers were Democrats, but that's when Roosevelt was in power. But both of them were conservative. That's why I'm a conservative person today. They just taught me right from wrong.
I remember going over there for holidays she always did a lot of cooking and baking.
She was a hell of a cook. She was unbelievable. Well, your mother's a good cook too, and it was always like bread cooking or cinnamon buns and lots of good food.
We used to have a lot of family from Philadelphia come over. Who do you remember coming over?
Oh, Aunt Agnes, Rose, mostly. Uncle Bill, Madeline sometimes, but usually Rose and Agnes and their families.
Uncle Leonard really wasn't our uncle.
No, he was. It was just something that you always had to call somebody with respect. So my mom, your mother, said it's Uncle Leonard, and that's what you called him. You and Kathleen.
And how did Uncle Leonard come in the picture?
Now, he was a neighbor across the street, and his wife died of a kidney problem. And my mom felt sorry for him. He was living in the house, so she said, "Look, we got the room upstairs. I'm away at school. So why don't you come over?" I'm losing my voice. She said, "Why don't you come over and stay here?" So that's the way it was.
And I know Uncle Stanley lived there.
Yep.
Where did he live before?
He lived with us ever since I was born. He lived with us.
Kind of rephrase that for me.
Uncle Stanley, it was a post-Depression era, and Uncle Stanley and my mother were related. It was her uncle. And I'm losing my voice, Doug. I can't. Can you stop?
Yeah. Let's see. You were telling me about Uncle Stanley post-Depression.
Yeah. Then they moved in with.
Wait, start from the beginning.
Yeah. You asked how Uncle Stanley got involved here. He was related to my mother, and it was very difficult for people to survive. So they kind of joined together, and my father was working, and my mother was taking care of me, and Uncle Stanley was working, and he just never left, and he was like my second father. So I was a lucky guy. I had two fathers.
He was a piece of work. He was a strong guy, strong-willed. He used to build things super strong. He was in the military.
He was a cook in the right after the First World War, and he was stationed in the Philippines. He was a tough guy, but a good guy, tremendously good guy.
One of my favorite stories is when we went over there and we had to take down the shed that he'd built from the cardboard.
Yeah. Well, that's almost as funny as the shelf you built in your room. And when you moved down to North Carolina, and we're redoing the room, I said, Jesus, he just builds like Uncle Stanley. It took me about 3 hours to get all those boards off the wall. So that's what it was. You did it. You did exactly what he did.
So you found yourself drafted.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get the news?
Well, you had to register for the draft. I was deferred for a while because of my college status. So when I came out, I got a notice after I was working, and I got a notice that I had to report for duty for enlistment at in Newark, New Jersey. So I did that, and did basic training at Fort Dix, 8 weeks, and after that they sent me up to Fort Monmouth. So I was kind of like, I never got out of the state of New Jersey, so I didn't see the world.
And how long were you in?
2 years. 2 years active, 2 years inactive, active reserve, which meant I had to go once a month to a reserve meeting, and two inactive years before I got my discharge. It was a 6-year commitment. However, during that 6 years, even if I was inactive and there was a war or something, I would have been called back in.
And did you have any special jobs? What was your job?
I had a top secret security clearance, and I was kind of like an office job that I had, and we were very vital and important information.
Um, you always told me that you had a secret that you couldn't tell, but you said that it had been declassified.
I don't want to talk about that anymore. It's just, it's not important.
Okay. And how did you meet Mom?
I got transferred. I worked for Sears the first year, and I got transferred up to Connecticut. This is after I got out of the service. I had a job with Sears. Yeah, and I was working in Vineland, and they sent me up to Connecticut as a credit manager, and your mom was working in the office. So it was a hassle of a job. I was a Mr. In Between all the time. So I just quit, and then I never asked your mom out when I was working there until when I left, and I did. And one thing led to another.
And then, so when you're working at Sears, you quit. Did you continue to live in Connecticut?
Yeah, I got another job with a company called Manpower. They're still around, but I was selling the service, not working, in one of their facilities. That was like a selling job. I didn't know what it was really going on. I had been married during that period of time when I was working there. So I would go in one day, the guy said, look, I think you better find another job. You're not doing this one too good. So that was like the first job I got fired from. So then I call your mom up, and she says, I said, guess what? I got fired. She said, guess what? I said, what? She says, I'm pregnant. What a way to start, huh? That's part of this whole thing. You have all these setbacks in your life, and then at the same time, my mom is telling me my dad's got lung cancer, and she wanted me to get back into the area to move back in. So we had a big hassle about moving back in, and finally got in here, and I had to quit my job. I had a job. I didn't even collect unemployment. I was unemployed for 2 weeks. I got a job with Park Davis, so that was the way it went.
So Park Davis was here in New Jersey.
Yeah, they had an office over in Cherry Hill, next to the Cherry Hill Mall.
And what did you do there?
I got the job by chance. I just walked in. I had a friend or neighbor when I lived in Connecticut was working for Pfizer at the time, ironically, and I kind of liked what he was doing. And then when I lost the job and moved back into the area and looking for new work, I saw Park Davis. I knew that was a drug company, and I went in and I said, I'm looking for work. Do you have any openings in sales? Yeah, we got 3 openings in the area. So I passed the test and all that stuff and got hired.
What was a typical day at work for you?
I get up and have a cup of coffee. I get to the diner and have coffee. Even when you had a manager, you'd meet him for coffee. And then the rest of the day you would spend best time calling on doctors for a good portion of the day. And around 3 o'clock you would call on pharmacies to sell them merchandise. So it was about maybe 10, 11 calls a day. Takes a lot of time because a lot of times you sit in the doctor's office for 2 hours before you got to see him. So it was kind of difficult to make much more than that.
And Kathleen was born when and where?
Well, she was born when we came down from Connecticut. My mom wanted us to move down, and she had been pregnant with Kathleen up there. I'm not sure what year that was when she got, and she was born at Parkview Hospital, and we had a nice apartment up in Grand Avenue in Philadelphia, and she was born in Parkview Hospital, which was one of the hospitals that I worked at, when I was in sales. I'd called on.
And then five years later, you had me.
Right, and you were born at Parkview Hospital too.
Same place.
Same place, yeah.
So when I came back from the hospital, where was your home?
We were, let's see, when you came back from the hospital. Hmm. Jeez. I guess we bought a house. I guess we were living here in the same place.
Let's see.
Because we had an apartment and then a house, and that was it.
And you stayed working for Park Davis for how many years?
Well, 32 years, and I left in 1945. 1995. I was out of work for a while, and then I got a part-time job working with Syncom Pharmaceuticals and I did that for 9 to 10 years. So I have over 40 years of experience.
We used to do a lot of family things. We used to go to the beach and sailing and things. What are some of your memories about that stuff?
It was probably the greatest time of my life. I enjoyed being with you guys and the camping and the boating and the motorcycles. When I look back in fond memories, they were just beautiful years, and I'm glad we had an opportunity to do it. It's just, I think about it and it makes me feel great.
Where were some of the places we went?
With the motorcycles, we used to go to Spruce Run with the boats up in North Jersey, and then motorcycles were all over the damn place. We went to, can't think of all the names, up in Pennsylvania and in New Jersey, Freehold, and places. Every weekend it was a wonderful event. We had a lot of fun.
We did a lot of sailing at Spruce Run.
Right.
We had a couple different boats.
Yeah, I guess I had 3 sunfish at one time. I had a no-day sailor, and then the catamaran. And we had 3 motorcycle trailers of 10 different motorcycles. We were nuts. Lots of fun, though. I'll never regret it.
Do you remember camping at Wading Pines?
Absolutely, yeah. That was another good experience with the old pop-up camper. I love that, too. I had fun. I hope you guys had fun. I really had a ball. It was a wonderful thing.
We used to go down the shore to Barnegat Lake.
That was nice too. Yeah.
We used to stay at somebody's house. Do you remember?
Now we rented a house. It was a friend of Vince Melander's, a guy owned a drugstore up in Trenton, and Vince made an arrangement, so I got it for about $400 for a week. It was great. And I think you got chicken pox when you were there. Nice, right? But thank God it was at the end of the week.
Some of your friends at work, Vince, Bob Tell,
right,
and your boss,
Dave Johnson.
Dave Johnson. Tell me a little bit about these guys.
Tremendous. I said earlier, I was thrilled to have good associations in high school, college, and in my working years. Good people, and Dave lived up here, and he was probably the best district manager I ever had because we were friends, and he used me for ideas, and I had a lot of ideas, which still have them, and it was just great, and we get to see each other at least once a year up in, we had to go someplace and have a brunch or a dinner. We just had one last year, and over the years we've had them.
Now Dave, there's a funny story with Dave Johnson. I want you to explain what he would do. He used to call the house, and he had a little routine.
Yeah, the first thing he wouldn't say, "Hey, this is Dave." You'd start telling him a joke. Every time he called, he'd tell a joke first, and it was kind of funny.
So he didn't announce himself.
He didn't announce himself; just started in with a joke right away. And he was a good joke. Yeah, always had good jokes. Good guy. Good guy.
And Bob Tell had a big family.
Bob had a daughter and a son, just like you, and you were born, but just about the same times. And he still lives up in Cherry Hill, in the same old house and same old conservative haircut. And he's got a couple grandkids, and that's I see him for several times a year. We have breakfast together.
Now I've heard of Vince, but I don't think I've ever met him. describe him a little.
Vince is an Italian guy, loved to eat, kind of heavy set, had a big family, 8 kids, good hearted, do anything for you. A very talented guy. He was a great salesman, played the piano, could sing. He's a very religious person. He does things for the church, and kind of guy that you want to be in the foxhole with. That's what I say.
Is he the guy who plays the piano?
Yes. Uh-huh.
So you guys would go to a meeting and he plays?
Yeah, he would play, and everybody would gather around and sing. I was telling Michelle, I said, as Abigail grows older, you got to teach her, like, get the piano or some musical instrument, especially the piano, because you're welcome any place if you can play the piano. It's just great.
I guess we'll wrap it up with just one or two more things.
Sure.
Let me think here. Let's see. Okay, let's talk a little about Abigail.
Ah. That's, I was just thinking this morning when I got up, I said, this has been such a great 3 or 4 days since you've been here. I'm so impressed with everything, and I just feel good inside, and this baby is just tremendous. I want to see the very best for her, and I can see the parenting is just great. Michelle just loves the baby, and she does great, and you do, and you take good care of her, and she'll be a good person. Good.
What are your impressions of her? What do you think she's gonna grow up to do?
Well, she's very bright, tremendously bright. I notice things. I spend my life analyzing people, and in sales and watching expressions. I could almost tell what people were thinking just by looking in their eyes and seeing the expressions. That's why I was a pretty good salesman. And I can see a lot of things in her. She's very curious, which is great. You were very, Doug, you were very curious as well. And Kathleen was a little bit different, but she was very bright. She could read and all these things. So you got smart kids. And I said to Mom, it'd be no other way. We got smart kids and smart cats. So she's really smart. She's going to have a nice personality. She likes animals. And time will tell. Yeah, but I think good parenting is very important.
And just describe Kathleen to you. How do you, when you meet somebody and you say, I have a son and a daughter, how do you describe this?
I'm a modest. I present it in a modest way. I tell a lot of things. People say, "What's your son doing?" I tell them, and I said, "He's a great," Then I get into the greatness and the creativity, and same thing with your sister, and tell her about her job and how smart she is, and so you'd have to listen to me talk, about it to see what I do. It's kind of hard to explain it.
Favorite TV show?
I used to like the Archie Bunker. In those old days, with Carol Burnett, Mary Tyler Moore. Don't have too many favorites now, like Law and Order. We watch it at night. Golden Girls, which Mom and I enjoy that. The old reruns.
You like the History Channel. Why do you like history so much?
Because everything that we do is based on history, and if you know history, you know where we're going and what's wrong with or right with the country. So anybody that doesn't know history is in for a sad surprise. So I wish I knew more.
Favorite president?
I like Ronald Reagan, George Bush. I admire him for his courage. I love the Abraham Lincoln. Probably the greatest president we ever had. And everybody hated him. They called him a fool, just like they trash George Bush today. But leaders who have to make tough decisions are often criticized. But when history is finally written, then they can see the differences. It's the cowards that never get criticized.
Just couple of real stupid questions. Like, a couple of, tell me a couple of your favorite foods.
Foods?
Yeah.
Salsa. I love salsa. You know, you ever eat salsa?
No.
It's a Mexican thing. It's tomatoes and when Mom says, "Oh, you want this to eat?" And I said, "I don't care what it is. It's good. I'll eat it." I have a very liberal liberal taste for foods. I'll try anything. Anything is good, Doug. I like it. Ice cream. I love ice cream. Yogurt. There's not much I don't like.
You had a bunch of dirt bikes. Which one did you like the best?
I liked my old four-stroke Honda. What is it? SL? XR. I like that one. That was like a bulldog. I like that.
You got to tell me the story about we went to Blackwood and it had rained. And try to tell me that from as far back as you can remember.
I don't know if it's a specific incident, but I remember going down to Blackwood and I used to ride the trails, and you were riding the track mostly. But I would go in the trails and ride with this big bike, and I hadn't been on this trail before, and all of a sudden I come to the top of the hill and look down, and there's this polluted stream. It was toxic, and the only thing they had was this little board, and I didn't go fast enough, and I fell off in the water. I'm up to here in this damn mud, and my bike is in there. I don't know how I ever got out. I did it all by myself. I got myself out, the bike out, and that was the end of that. But boy, I'll tell you, that was I kind of laugh when I think about it. It was a bitch, though.
How old are you?
45. I started riding motorcycles. Actually, around 45, 46.
And you and I went camping down in the Pines one time, and we took the trailer into one of those pits.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me that story.
Oh, that was we went down on to that pit we used to ride in, and I think it was Martin, and you and me, and Sizemore, right? And we went, we're riding along, and we had decided to camp in for the night, and we were all into the thing, and all of a sudden I thought this motorcycle gang was around, and people were circling. This is dark and cold, and in the evening. They were riding in the dark, and they ran around our camp, and I thought we were in big trouble. And, of course, they were just teasing us, and they left, but I was scared. It was a scary night. Is that the one you were talking about? Yeah.
And we ended up befriending them, if
I don't recall Douglas.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Okay. And you have, tell me all your cats. What do you got? You got a bunch of cats now?
Well, we have Molly inside, and you have the outside cats. We started with 2 cats that I guess they were born, and they were a little kind of young. They came to our house, and I started to feed them. And it was Romeo. We called him everything else, but he's such a lover. And then Oreo, because he's black and white. And then the third little cat that came was called. She's got this big black nose, and Mom called her Smudge. So Smudge is a female, and these other guys are male. So Smudge got pregnant. I don't know if it was by them, but I would guess it was. She had her babies, and we could see them in the garden house. And then she took them under the deck that you built on the side of the house, and then they grew up. Now they just lounge here. They come in, bring them in to eat. It's fun, a lot of fun, wonderful animals. Makes me feel good when I watch them every day.
That's about it. Do you have anything that you were just dying to? A story, a concept, good advice, favorite?
Yeah, I do. I always have good advice. As you go through life, you're going to have many, many challenges. And if you come in with a negative attitude, you're going to have a negative result. I don't care what it is, whether it can be accomplished or not. You have to attack everything with a positive attitude. That's how I got through my life. I make fun of it, and I can go on, and if I'm having an operation, and I've had so damn many of them, I always look for a positive outcome. And thank God I've always received it. And you have to have faith. You have to believe. You have to have your support. But your optimism is so important, and your faith is so important that if you don't have those, you'll have a hard time getting through life. That's it.
Good job, boss.
Losing my voice.
I mean, I don't have a lot of experience interviewing people.
Oh, you did good. I thought you did fantastic. I could see you on Fox News.